That was your decision, Blacc Sam. You intelligent as a businessman, but you making dumb decisions.
The noise around the Marathon Burger grand opening has been anything but calm. Divisive and full of tension across social media. People went from celebrating Nipsey Hussle's growing legacy to caught up in a whole different conversation almost overnight. Wack 100 didn't hesitate to step in and directly call out Blacc Sam, holding him accountable for the situation that went down at the Marathon Burger and left one person dead and several others injured. That incident became one of the hottest topics making its way through hip-hop commentary circles. To be fair, a good portion of what's out there reflects personal takes and outside reads on a situation still being pieced together by those watching from the outside. That said, Wack 100 believes this is bigger than one incident. His position is that Blacc Sam has been consistently pulling negative heat toward moments that were meant to be celebrated, and the Marathon Burger grand opening is the clearest example of that. The version of events circulating online suggests Rockstar 2800 came through to the Marathon Burger simply to grab a bite and show support for the opening. Things shifted once Blacc Sam stepped to him directly.
The
reasoning behind it apparently traces back to Rockstar 2800 having conversations with Wack 100 on Clubhouse, and that alone rubbed Blacc Sam the wrong way. The way some people read Sam's position, he felt that anybody with real ties to Nipsey Hussle had no business building any kind of rapport with Wack 100, period. Wack 100 saw it from an entirely different angle though. His argument was simple. If Rockstar 2800 talking to him was really that deep of a problem, why bring that energy out in the open at a grand opening in front of everybody? The way Wack framed it, pulling that kind of move at what was supposed to be a milestone moment only dragged unnecessary attention and disorder into a space that deserved none of that. And in his eyes, that pattern of behavior is exactly where the real issue lies. Wack 100 then pushed the conversation even further and started pointing out what he sees as a clear lack of consistency on Blacc Sam's part.
Oh, for the very same thing he escorted Crackstar across the street on. Talking to me. P Nice talks to me. He just did a podcast. And you gave him the first burger from the Marathon Long Beach store. And you did an interview with him. Hey, great. Because I don't think there's nothing wrong with people that talk to me personally. I ain't said nothing wrong. Point out where I didn't say a lot. RB got me on the water diet is what it is. Okay, we move forward. If you wouldn't have never approached him and marked him out and escorted him across the street like the buster he is, then that bad publicity wouldn't have never been on the spot.
His evidence was a separate premiere event where Sam was spotted alongside individuals that Wack 100 claims he's had conversations with, sat down for interviews with, or linked up with through podcast appearances. That's what sparked Wack 100 throwing the word hypocrite into the mix. The way he broke it down, if associating with him is supposed to be a line nobody crosses, then that standard should apply across the board and not just get enforced selectively depending on who's involved. The specific name he brought into it was P Nice. Wack 100 had recently sat down with P Nice for a podcast, and from everything Wack observed, Blacc Sam had absolutely nothing to say publicly about that. Yet the moment Rockstar 2800 had any kind of exchange with him, that's apparently what triggered the confrontation. To Wack 100, that gap, right? There is the definition of picking and choosing when to be bothered. Now all of this is coming straight from Wack 100's perspective, and depending on who you talk to, the full picture probably looks a lot different. But Wack 100 clearly isn't backing down from how he sees things. He went further and stated that a lot of the negativity attached to the Marathon Burger situation was avoidable, and that certain responses to it only poured fuel on something that could have stayed manageable. That's the point where Wack 100 decided to stop talking around it and address Blacc Sam head on.
That was your decision, Blacc Sam. You intelligent as a businessman, but you making dumb decisions. you getting to the finish line and then you pissing on the product. Why? And then I'm tripping. Every time the camera on and Blacc Sam is standing by the people from the mayor office or the people from the radio station or the other prominent people, you see all the ninjas trying to get in there. Yeah. Look, they're security. But if you look at the thumbnail on this segment here, Blacc Sam is kneeling behind a car while shots being fired, and ain't none of the ninjas around. Ain't nobody like, damn, hold on. Cover Sam.
When he spoke up, there was nothing subtle or softened about it. What came out of his mouth next had people throughout the hip-hop world stopping to pay attention. The reactions to Blacc Sam's involvement in all of this are genuinely divided. Part of the audience believes he carried himself exactly the way a loyal leader and protective figure should. Another portion of people feel the entire situation warranted a different approach, especially given the level of visibility and influence he's operating at now. That divide is really where the heart of this debate lives. One camp argues that Blacc Sam was actively trying to prevent something from escalating. The read from that side is that he was working to move certain people away from the Marathon Burger location before any friction with rivals had a chance to turn into something worse. In that light, supporters describe it as a proactive move rather than an aggressive one. In a place like Los Angeles, where deep-rooted rivalries don't always stay behind closed doors, some people see getting out ahead of potential tension as the smartest play available. The opposing side, though, frames it in a completely different way. Their argument is that Blacc Sam's position has fundamentally changed. He's a business owner now, a recognizable public figure carrying a brand directly tied to Nipsey Hussle's name and vision. From that standpoint, people believe his energy should be channeled into leadership and decision-making, rather than putting himself at the center of confrontations personally. Events of that scale bring professional security specifically so that the owners never have to step into those situations themselves. When people saw Blacc Sam getting directly involved, a lot of them questioned whether that fit the role he's supposed to be playing at this stage. There's also the perception argument that keeps coming up. Blacc Sam isn't just representing himself. Everything he does reflects on a brand rooted in Nipsey Hussle's vision of community progress and ownership. Some critics feel that moments like this one risk pulling that brand in a direction that contradicts what it's supposed to stand for. Supporters fire back on that pretty firmly, though. Their counter is that Blacc Sam lost his brother, and that kind of grief reshapes how a person moves through every situation they face. For those people, loyalty to what Nipsey Hussle built will always outweigh optics. And when things got tense, he wasn't operating as an executive, he was operating as family. The discussion then shifted once more when Wack 100 brought up things Blacc Sam had said during his conversation with P. Nice. According to Wack 100, some of what was expressed during that sit-down didn't exactly line up with the image Blacc Sam puts forward in public settings. The Marathon brand and the legacy surrounding Nipsey Hussle are built on a foundation of growth, forward movement, and rising above street-level conflicts. That's the message most people connect with Nipsey's name. Nipsey Hussle was more than just a rapper from Crenshaw. Long before the Grammy nominations and the mainstream recognition, he was already building something that most people in the music industry weren't even thinking about yet. He came up in South Los Angeles at a time when the options in front of young men from that neighborhood were extremely limited. And instead of accepting those limitations, he spent years quietly constructing a blueprint that would eventually influence an entire generation of artists, entrepreneurs, and community figures across the country. What made Nipsey stand apart wasn't just the music, though the music was undeniable. Projects like Crenshaw and Victory Lap carried a weight and a clarity that felt different from what was dominating the airwaves. He rapped about real experiences without glorifying them carelessly, and he consistently threaded themes of ownership, discipline, and long-term thinking through his work in a way that resonated with people far beyond his immediate fan base. He wasn't chasing trends, he was setting a tone. But the business side of what he built is what truly set his legacy apart from most artists of his era. He famously sold physical copies of Crenshaw for $100 apiece, a move that turned heads and sparked conversation across the entire industry. It wasn't just a marketing stunt. It was a statement about how he valued his own work and how he expected others to value it too. Jay-Z bought 100 copies. That moment alone told you everything about how seriously the right people were taking what Nipsey was doing. Beyond music, he invested directly back into the neighborhood that raised him. He He opened businesses along Crenshaw Boulevard, including the Marathon Clothing Store, which became a symbol of what community reinvestment could actually look like when it came from someone with genuine roots in the area. He wasn't coming in from the outside with a development check. He was someone who grew up on those streets, who understood what was missing, and who put his own money and energy into filling those gaps. He partnered on tech initiatives, supported STEM education programs in South LA, and consistently used his platform to push a message centered on economic empowerment and self-sufficiency. The people who knew him personally have spoken repeatedly about a man whose private character matched the public persona. That kind of consistency is rare in any space, and especially rare at the level of fame he had reached. He carried himself with a calm and a focus that people around him described as almost unwavering. Someone who stayed locked in on a vision even when the circumstances around him were chaotic. His passing in March of 2019 sent a shockwave through Los Angeles and through hip-hop as a whole that honestly never fully settled. The outpouring that followed wasn't just grief, it was a recognition of how much had been lost and how much had already been built. The marathon, as he always called it, didn't stop with him. It continued through the people he inspired, the businesses that carry his name, and a community that still looks to what he stood for as a reference point for what's possible.